We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bring news just for you. It's Wednesday, April 9th here in Seoul. I'm Song Yujin, and you're watching News Generation. Joining us today is Park Ki-eun.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. And Grace Park.
Hello, happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. Now, both are here to speak on behalf of those in their 20s and 30s. So we're going to begin our show with our keyword news. Today's keyword is cherry blossom. One of South Korea's most iconic cherry blossom festivals kicked off its 5-day run on Tuesday. It's the annual Yeouido Cherry Blossom Festival taking place along the Yeouiseoro Cherry Blossom Path and the Hangang River Park National Assembly soccer field in Seoul's Yeongdeung-pogu district. Cherry blossoms in Seoul bloomed about 4 days earlier than in previous years this year and are expected to reach their peak later this week. So I want to ask you, starting Grace, did you get to see the cherry blossoms this year? Have you visited the Yeouido Cherry Blossoms Festival before, or do you plan to this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a beautiful season here in Korea right now, and I actually went to go see them yesterday in the Yangjae area, near Yangjae-cheon or Yangjae Stream, and yeah, it's really just full of the cherry blossoms. I don't know if they're in peak bloom right now, but yeah, there are a lot of them. So I totally recommend the Yangjae Stream area if you are nearby. And I haven't gone to see the Yeouido ones yet, but I probably won't be able to make it all the way there.
But still, Yangjae-cheon Stream is so beautiful too, right?
And just all around. Yeah.
Now, what about you, Kyun?
Along with Yangjae-cheon, there's also Seokchon Lake, which is in Jamsil, right next to Lotte World, which is where I also live. So I don't really need to travel all the way to Yeouido to see the cherry blossoms. I did have a chance to actually walk around the lake last week on a weekend. And there were so many people there. I couldn't really stop to take a picture.
Yeah, take photos.
Yes, and there were even security guards telling us to just keep moving, don't stop to take photos, because they did have separate photo zones. And I remember going to Yeouido Cherry Blossom Festival many years ago, and it was so crowded.
Right.
It was beautiful, of course, and it was really, but at the same time, it was very difficult to take a picture of just the cherry blossoms with myself. It would be like people's heads in my photos, like people's arms, and just a lot of people in general. So my tip to really indulge cherry blossom is to find a hotspot in your neighborhood. Because there are cherry blossoms pretty much everywhere.
Flowers
if you look around, there are flowers
now.
everywhere. So find that spot. It'll be very peaceful. You can take all the pictures you want up close from far and even have a picnic there. So that's what I actually do. I found my own little spots, cherry blossom spots. And if I do have time, I would actually go there to have my own little picnic with friends and just really enjoy the cherry blossoms.
That's a nice way to enjoy them. And I think you have one more tip to share with our viewers, because we don't have not a lot of time left to enjoy them, right?
We do, because on Saturday it is forecast to rain nationwide. So if you do have the time, for those of you in Korea, go visit before Saturday if you can.
Right, because the clock is ticking. And meanwhile, for those who plan to visit this festival, to prevent incidents caused by overcrowding, the Yeongdeung-pogu District Office has deployed safety personnel to high traffic areas and will conduct crowd control using AI-powered drones and surveillance cameras. And that was our keyword news for this Wednesday. So we're now going to move on to our main discussion of the day. Wednesday means it's time to talk about topics shaping the lives of younger generations. Take a look at the screen to find out more. Since the start of this year, the world has seen a string of devastating natural disasters, from raging wildfires in Los Angeles and Korea's southeastern provinces to the powerful 7.7 magnitude earthquake that shook Myanmar. Today on NewsGen, we're taking a moment to reflect on how young people are reacting, responding, and rallying together in the face of these disasters. So first of all, our hearts go out to all those who were affected by the recent string of wildfires and also the deadly earthquake in Myanmar. But we're going to start here in Korea. Ki-eun, can you walk us through the recent wildfires that broke out in South Korea's Gyeongsangbuk-do and Gyeongsangnam-do provinces?
Sure. South Korea suffered its worst ever deadly wildfires that started from March 21st, that killed 28 people, forced at least 37,800 to flee their homes, and destroyed thousands of structures and vehicles, including heritage sites. The hardest hit areas were Uiseong in Gyeongsangbuk-do province and Sancheong in Gyeongsangnam-do province. The main fire was fully contained in around 10 days. However, just on Monday, residents of southern county of Hadong in Gyeongsangnam-do province were advised to evacuate to safe locations as another fire erupted at a mountain. Fortunately, the main flames were contained the next day with no casualties reported. And according to the South Korean government's Disaster Response Center, the burned area reached approximately 50,000 hectares, marking the largest damage on record. With around 3,500 homes and 2,000 agricultural facilities destroyed by the fire, the displaced residents are now enduring a very difficult time, having lost their homes and families, all in need of support and help from the government and the nation as a whole.
Right. So according to government estimates, these string of wildfires are the most deadly and the most devastating wildfires in South Korean history. Now, in response to these fires, we saw some heartfelt action, especially from young public figures who really extended a helping hand. So Grace, could you also tell us a bit more about that?
Sure. We have been fortunate enough to witness many helping hands from all over the country for the victims of the recent wildfires. Now, these include K-pop celebrities like BTS, IU, as well as both small and large domestic corporations, and of course individuals who have all made financial donations toward the relief efforts. Millennials and Gen Z have also been posting on social media about their contributions toward these efforts, and they've been showing solidarity and support through online memorials held throughout the entire time that the fires have been happening.
And this must be really big help and big comfort for all those who were affected by the wildfires. But unfortunately, wildfires in Korea aren't new because we remember the 2022 Uljingung County and Samcheok City blazes, though thankfully that time there were no casualties reported. But still, every year around this time during spring, it feels like wildfires are becoming more frequent. So Kyun, is this pattern actually continuing? And if so, why is it?
It actually is. Most wildfires are caused by the carelessness of people visiting the mountains. In fact, the majority of wildfires in Korea occur in March and April, largely because more people visit the mountains during this time to forage for wild herbs or pay respects at family graves. It is a traditional practice in Korea to burn ritual papers or lighting a candle to pay tributes to ancestors. So even a small spark can cause fires. So during the dry season, it is advised to prohibit any use of fire in mountainous areas. Furthermore, 21% of all wildfires across the country over the past 10 years have occurred in April this month. Again, highlighting the need for increased awareness and caution during this period. And another cause is due to climate change that is fueling the hot and dry weather that actually helps fires burn faster and more intensely. Unusually warm spring temperatures here in South Korea dried out the landscape and combined with strong winds set the stage for fast-moving fires to eat through the region's dense forests as we saw in Gyeongsang-do provinces.
I mean, the wildfires this time, they're still under investigation, but as far as we know, it was also caused by humans, by the actions that you mentioned earlier, and it is becoming increasingly difficult for firefighters to contain the flames because of the dry and windy weather conditions. And this time, though, the fires in Korea made global headlines even more, sadly, because they took dozens of lives, as Kyun mentioned. So, Grace, what's being attributed to the main cause of this death toll?
Yeah, in fact, forest fires have been occurring on an annual basis now in Korea. So the fact that so many lives were lost once again this year has raised concern on why there's still no proper evacuation protocol or response measures, even after a similar disaster happened 2 years ago. And experts point out that the death count would not have been so high if evacuation sites had been designated in advance as part of preventive or preemptive measures to protect civilians. And also because there wasn't a proper emergency response system in place, authorities failed to fully suppress the initial fire due to the lack of firefighting helicopters and personnel. And on top of that, the fire ended up spreading incredibly fast, like Kyun mentioned, because of the strong headwinds, especially in areas with coniferous forests.
Right. So it's becoming more difficult for countries around the world, not only in Korea, to deal with these wildfires. And we want to mention that other parts of the world have been hit hard by wildfire this year. It's not just the situation in Korea. So Kyun, what can you tell us more about the broader picture?
Like you mentioned, wildfires are not just a problem here in Korea. This year, Los Angeles also experienced uncontrollable wildfires. And in 2023, massive and hard to contain wildfires broke out in places like Hawaii, Canada, and Greece. And a key factor behind these disasters is the loss of soil moisture caused by climate change, which has led to increasingly dry conditions. And since this is a climate crisis issue, it is a responsibility that we all share, and we need to really take action collectively to contain this climate crisis issue, because this is another main cause of why all these wildfires are happening. So, and of course with earthquakes as well. So I think it's time for us to really raise our sense of awareness in terms of taking extra precaution in terms of climate change.
Right, and as we are talking about earthquakes too in today's episode, before we move on, we want to turn to another major disaster because as we mentioned briefly at the top of our show, just a few weeks ago, a deadly earthquake of a magnitude 7.7 rattled parts of Myanmar and even neighboring Thailand. So Grace, please fill us in on that too.
Yeah, such unfortunate news. According to the Myanmar military authorities, a 7.7 magnitude earthquake struck the country's central inland region last month on March 28th, killing more than 1,700 people and injuring 3,600 as of March 30th. The World Health Organization classified this earthquake as a level 3 emergency, which is the highest level, and requested humanitarian assistance and resources from the international community. Also, this earthquake affected Bangkok, Thailand, which is actually 1,000 kilometers away from Myanmar, where a 33-story high-rise under construction collapsed on the same day.
Right. So to hear more about the situation on the ground regarding this earthquake, we'll soon be speaking to a young person in Thailand. We'll be back after a short break.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search our channel Arirang News. Click Community and leave a comment down below. Make a new type of news with us.
Today we're joined by Petra Udom-Prasad, a Thai millennial. Welcome back to the show, Petra.
Hi guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So Petra, we'd first like to ask you, what's the current situation like in the areas affected by the recent quake, especially regarding rescue and recovery efforts?
Okay, so recovery is still happening on site at the building that collapsed. The last time I checked, the current death toll is 21, with 73 people still missing. And buildings are also being inspected countrywide, and the steel company is under investigation for failing to meet the safety standard test. On the civilian side of things, residents have reported close to 20,000 cases of cracked walls in their apartment buildings, but most of which have been inspected and deemed safe from potential collapse, thankfully. People in apartments at risk who are also given credits by the government to book temporary accommodations while their buildings were being inspected and repaired, which is nice.
That's good to hear. Petra, how are the local residents coping in the aftermath?
From what I've seen, those who needed to repair their cracked walls and painted walls are doing so and submitting insurance claims to get their money back. But psychologically, there's a lot of paranoia going on about the structural safety of buildings. I have friends who owned apartments units selling them all of a sudden. I also saw real estate posts on Facebook urging people to invest now because prices are falling. I think it's more of a psychological mess than a physical one because we're so used to living without earthquakes. But today, it's among the top concerns for people. And there's a real pressure on the government from younger generations to come up with an effective warning system for these disasters, as well as implementing earthquake-proof infrastructure for future buildings.
Petra, what kind of international support do you think is most urgently needed, and how can people abroad contribute?
There are organizations like UNICEF that have offices in Thailand and are directly helping the local authorities in recovery efforts and supporting families through this trauma, especially children who are most mentally affected. There are also private organizations like All Hands and Hearts who are also on the ground helping people both in Bangkok and Chiang Mai and are accepting donations. I think if you're overseas and cannot volunteer, supporting through these organizations is the quickest way to ensure that help arrives.
Right. All right, Petra, thank you so much for sharing the situation on the ground. And we hope all those around you and your community recovers both physically and mentally as well.
Thank you. My heart goes out to South Korea as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, so natural disasters may strike in a matter of seconds and minutes, but their aftermath leaves deep scars that take years and sometimes decades to heal. So we know rebuilding takes time, money, and most of all, solidarity from the international community. So in these moments, what are some meaningful actions we can do to really help those who have been affected by these recent string of natural disasters?
First and foremost, I think raising awareness of taking precautionary safety measures when it comes to avoiding or minimizing damages caused by natural disasters is key for citizens. Many people don't take too much seriousness as they think it may not happen to them, but as we have seen in recent times, it can happen to anyone at any time. So doing the due diligence of being informed what to do before and after a natural disaster occurs is crucial. And also the government and local authorities will obviously need to fulfill their duties of protecting the people from such disasters with precautionary response measures. And I myself, as a radio news announcer, we're always alert. We have to be alert to these emergency announcements, and we have to make it in real time whenever it pops up from the Ministry of Interior and Safety. So I myself, as a news presenter, should be a bit more aware and let the public know through media as well that things may happen in the future. We've got to be extra careful. So I think people in general need to be a bit more informed and educated about what safety measures to take in case of these natural disasters happen, because they only realize it once it actually happens, and sometimes it's too late.
Yeah, you can't go back.
You can't go back. So, and once these things happen, it's just left in rubbles, and it's not. We can't really just blame it on the government for not taking precautionary measures or the safety response measures. We have to work together for these things to not just happen in the first place, but if it does happen, to minimize the damage caused.
And I think this especially holds true because in terms of wildfires, we've seen cases when many of them were started by humans. So if we take precautionary and preemptive measures, maybe we can prevent that in the future.
Exactly.
What do you think, Grace?
Yeah, I mean, I would think the easiest and fastest way that we as individuals could help is by donating our financial resources, if we can, to relief efforts and rescue efforts for such disasters as just like a practical display of support. And as a society, we definitely need to see more substantial emergency and evacuation protocols put in place in case that similar disasters happen, especially for fires, since we see this happening every year now. And when we're essentially choosing not to be well equipped, it's devastating for the victims. And it's such a high risk that we carry as a society because you just never know when natural disasters will strike. And damage control is just that much harder.
And talking about donations and lending a helping hand at times like this, every small action of help really helps too.
Exactly, right.
All right, and that's all we have for today, but Newsden will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time. Special thanks to Park Ki-yoon.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you, and Grace Park.
Thank you.
Thank you, and to our viewers, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. We are News Generation.